At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Happy Friday to you. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger. It is Friday. We're getting ready for the weekend. It's going to be hot. It's going to be a little smoky out there. Probably some of the hottest temperatures we've seen so far for the year. I don't know if too many people are excited about the weekend just for that sake, but you can go to the lake, maybe cool off. And by the way, some interesting information that you need to know. If you are going onto Shasta Lake, and in particular the arm of the lake where the green fire is, officials are asking you to stay away from that location because you're getting in the way. People are getting in the way. There's a curiosity, obviously, but you don't want to be in the way because they've got the helicopters to come down, get the water. You don't want to be in the way of that, so you need to stay back. They've got signs posted. Most likely, they've even got probably sheriff's office, maybe kind of monitoring the area as well. So just be aware of that. Otherwise, you got a whole big lake to go out there and explore and stay cool over the weekend. Speaking of staying cool, you're going to need to find ways to stay cool as we take a look at your Krueger's Quickcast for your Friday, July 11th. Yeah, big summer heat has arrived, and it's going to be even hottest for today, tomorrow. I think the peak will be today, tomorrow. Could get up to 110 degrees on average for some of the hottest locations in the valley, mainly 90s in the mountains. Now, there will be a slight dip in our temperatures as we go into the higher elevations, but we're going to be looking at those temperatures dipping through next week, probably even below 100 degrees even for the valley. Now, looking at the long range, I did see this morning, just kind of looking, I'd let you just go and look as far as I can go, and I am seeing near the end of the month an even bigger heat wave than the one we're seeing now. I mean, pretty massive. We'll see. Don't want to get too excited about it. Things can change. This is the first sign that I've seen of that, so we'll see what happens with that. All right, let's go and take a look at the temperatures out there right now. This is one of the reasons why there's a heat advisory. Heat advisory is not just for the heat of the day, but also how much recovery do we get at night? Does it stay pretty warm at night? If that's the case, then it's harder for people to recover overnight because that's a lot of time for you to be able to recover. So low 90s, all right, typically mid 70s is that cutoff point where the National Weather Service says, okay, that's the advisory. So we're close. The temperatures in the 50s and 60s, mainly 50s though, for the higher elevations. All right, out the door this morning. All right, you're talking about those warm temperatures already by 8 a.m. Now, it doesn't show any smoke or haze here for the valley, but I think we're going to see some smoke and haze. We're already seeing it. I mean, I'm looking out there, I can see it. Some places worse than others. I know Chico was worse than Redding yesterday, actually. But hazy, smoky out in Trinity County, Siskiyou County, even Modoc County. Seeing some of that smoke out there this morning as well, but fog along the coast. The winds, not that strong this morning. That's always a good sign. The not so great sign is those winds will pick up this morning, especially for the north and west side of the valley. But really no big wind events going in today or tomorrow. A little gusty out towards central Siskiyou County this afternoon and even along the coast. But overall, the winds are not a major factor in our fire weather risk. However, even though they do begin to pick up at times through some of the morning hours and even the afternoon hours. Big ridge of high pressure in place. You see how the clouds are kind of up to our north, a big void of clouds over the eastern Pacific and western United States. That's a sign of that big ridge of high pressure, kind of the broad ridge of high pressure, really. So some of the fog this morning should hopefully, it looks like burn off here, even around Eureka, but there will still be a few clouds here and there. So by the afternoon, we're calling for partly cloudy skies, at least around the Eureka area, elsewhere sunny skies. You'll notice in the mountains, we're seeing some afternoon convection. What that is the daytime heat. It rises in the upper air aloft and we see the puffy cumulus clouds. We may see that in some of the higher elevations to the north and east. Otherwise, mainly sunny skies for everyone else. We go into your Friday night tonight into tomorrow morning, and you can see some of that fog developing, especially around Humboldt Bay, southward into the Highway 101 corridor heading down towards southern Humboldt County. Temperatures today are going to be the hottest we've seen so far for the year. I mean, we're talking 110 degrees for Redding, 140 degrees in Chico, mainly 90s in the mountains. And there you can see Weaverville, 104, mid-60s for the coast. Tonight, another mild night. It's going to be warm. Temperatures basically mid-70s. That is that cutoff point of the heat advisory for the valley. Temperatures mainly in the 50s, even some 60s for the higher elevations, and mid to upper 50s tonight for the coast. All right, so let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for the valley. Oh yeah, there it is, hot over the weekend. And we're gonna just go into early next week with temperatures still very hot, but look at the downward trend as we go to the rest of the week. By Thursday, everyone in the valley will be below 100 degrees, including Redding. But it could be as early as Tuesday, Wednesday for Chico, and Wednesday for Redding. But you get the idea. It's still going to be pretty hot. The coast, mid-60s. Surprise, surprise. Inland, we're talking temperatures triple digits at least through Monday, maybe even into Tuesday before you see temperatures drop. And really, we're seeing that trend across the board, especially for the higher elevations in Valley, where we've got temperatures dropping through next week. We've got that relief from this heat wave. So it's not going to be prolonged for over a week. It's going to be 4 or 5 days, and then eventually what we've got here are, of course, those temperatures dropping a bit. All right, as we go into the fire forecast, just want to remind you that conditions can change rapidly. And I go into some details about the current fires, containment, acreage, some overall thoughts, looking at the heat signatures, the works, and we kind of go over what's going on with the fires. But those conditions can change rapidly. And what I do, and you'll see, is I indicate last report that came in. So as you're watching this, you're like, okay, great. And then maybe 10, 20 minutes down the line, you get some new numbers. That's why it's important for you to go to weathernorcal.com, click on the fire danger section. You can go to the Watch Duty app there on the website, and you can check the latest on the fires there. But also just regular information like red flag warnings, what it's looking like fire weather-wise, and what's coming in from different agencies on fire danger in general. So it's a great resource. Be sure to check it out at weathernorcal.com. All right, so let's get you right into it. We're going to take a look at just the broad perspective, and right now we're just looking at the heat signatures coming in. You see a lot of yellow on there. That's indicating upwards of about 72 hours old. The dots on the map that you're going to see, which we're not seeing anything for the bridge fire because there hasn't been any recent activity, I basically just plotted the last 72 hours. Yellow being 72 hours, orange being, I believe it's like 36 hours, and then red, most recent. The bridge fire, unfortunately, the information that I get, that I put into my weather computer, it does not show the fire perimeter that is west of the river. So just bear that in mind, that I do understand that there is a fire even on the west side of that as well, but we are now at 90% containment of the bridge fire as of 4:06 this morning at about 404 acres. All right, take a look at the Highline Trail. We can see here some of the smoke that is coming in from the green fire, just coming in from the PG&E camera there. But this is looking at the fire tracker here for the green fire. So as of 11:29, about 11:30 last night, again, I checked before we came on here, just under 6,000 acres, still 0% containment. Now, see the red dots? That's about 6 to 12 hours old. So you can see that we are seeing fire spots, or fire hot spots, that is, outside of the perimeter, actually getting closer to the lake. You can see that arm there of the lake just on the left part of your screen there. That's what we're looking at here. The yellow indicating at least 72 hours old. All right, and there you can see some of the orange. That's 24 hours old up to the north. So most of the activity that we're seeing with the green fire, south end of the fire, southwest side of the fire, even outside of the fire perimeter itself, and then on the north side of the fire, we are seeing plenty of activity there as well. All right, let's take you out to the Helena fire, and this will probably be the last update on the Helena fire. Why? Because yesterday I reported 90%. Today, I'm happy to report that the Helena fire is now 100% contained. Boy, those firefighters, they are doing an amazing job, aren't they? We are seeing these containment numbers just go higher and higher, including the Butler fire. Actually, not including the Butler fire, excuse me. The Jacket fire, 96% contained as of 7:24 yesterday evening. We'll see if we get closer to that 100% containment here in the next 24 hours. You can see the Butler fire, though. We are seeing some red dots indicating the most recent activity in the last 6 hours or so outside of the fire perimeter to the south, and we're also seeing plenty of red dots to the north and east side of the fire as well, unfortunately. So still plenty of activity coming in from the Butler fire. That's why we're still seeing a lot of smoke coming from some of these fires here. 3,971 acres as of 9:26 last night at 0% containment. There's the evacuation orders and warnings that we've seen for that fire. Red fire, no recent activity here coming in from there. However, it is 25% contained at 113 acres as of about 9:30 last night. All right, so take a look at the Summit fire here. You can see 23% containment at 576 acres. Also, as of about 7:23 last night, That is the latest information coming in there. There you can see the evacuation order and the evacuation warning for that fire as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the winds out there right now, and this is always a good sight to see that we don't have very strong winds over Northern California in general. And really, what I want to point out is that we don't have any wind events that are heading our way anytime soon. It's going to be a little breezy, a little gusty at times, but nothing to be terribly concerned about. I will note, you can see the winds are picking up from the south on Saturday afternoon, so that's something to note, and will probably elevate that fire weather risk. In fact, when we look at the fire danger, you'll see what I'm talking about. But there you can see through midday Sunday, the winds are fairly calm, and you can see as we go into your Friday, though, for your fire weather risk today, nothing unusual. We're in the moderate to high range. That's pretty much everyday occurrence for the valley, okay? And then there you can see moderate fire danger for the most part in some of the higher elevations. Now Saturday, remember those winds picking up from the south. Look at that. We're getting even some deeper oranges and reds in there, indicating that higher fire danger we do expect. By the way, the numbers you see on your screen there are humidity levels, so very low humidity as well. Then going into your Sunday, at least through midday, you can see we're still in that moderate. I think we'll get in that moderate to high range, especially in the valley here as we go into Sunday afternoon as well. All right, let's talk about the smoke. There is some haze. There is some smoke out there this morning for a lot of the same areas that saw them yesterday morning. We will probably see some improvement with the haze and smoke out there for some of us, but not everyone. You can see it looks to be a little bit more dense out towards Chico and Oroville once again. You can see the green fire between Redding and Boerne there. It's still producing smoke, and eventually those winds will push that smoke to the east into the Boerne area later this afternoon and evening. This would also include places like Montgomery Creek, maybe Fall River Mills, and there's the smoke coming in from the Butler and Summit fires that will be pushing eventually down to the south and east overnight tonight, especially for Trinity County, where you can see the bulk of that smoke. And a lot of that smoke working its way from the green fire into Lassen County. Now, tomorrow morning, it's going to be smoky again and hazy, even including the valley. But as those winds shift from the south, what will happen is that haze is going to stick around, but we're going to start to see most of the new smoke now get blown more to the north of those fires, although some of it kind of settling down into northern Trinity County Saturday night. But you can see the green fire in particular, the smoke there is going to blow into Modoc and northern Lassen counties by Saturday night. Maybe not as bad for Boerne, but still a bit hazy and a little smoky for parts of the valley as well. So again, the haze and smoke is still a bit of an issue, and that low air quality as a result. In fact, I want to show you what that air quality is looking like before we go to the cameras here. And by the way, also the most recent activity. So we're looking at the satellite image there. You can see the hot spots before sunset. And you can see the Summit and Butler fires are still fairly active before sunset last night. And the green fire there, you can see that other area, right? Then they kind of die down. That's good overnight, but look at this. You saw it kind of flare up a little bit early this morning, but the good news is you can see we're seeing that heat signature drop again. So we saw a little bit of a flare up. I'm not exactly sure what caused it. It could have been maybe it caught some more fuels and it just really took off. Maybe the winds picked up. Who knows? But there was a bit of a activity that kind of flared the fire up, and looks like it's now settled down again a little bit here. And then we'll probably see all of those three fires again flare up, and really a lot of the fires as well. So that's kind of looking at that. So what is it doing to the air quality? We're just looking at the smoke here. Let's go into, I believe it's here. No, there we go. We're going to take a look at purple air. We're going to let it refresh here with some of the latest data. And you can see there are parts of East Redding that are in that really high category here with the purples. But a lot of the oranges and reds, that's indicating some of the poor air quality that we have over parts of the valley here. And what we're looking at here is not as bad for some of the higher elevations. And in particular, around where the fires are, you're getting into that stream, really just high, really poor air quality. Now, this is coming in from a lot of the government agencies, from Shasta County offices. So these are a little bit more sophisticated as far as measuring that, what was particulate matter 2.5 microns, so very small, and larger than that as well. And you can see it's mainly within that moderate range here when we're talking about the air quality. And you can see it's a little bit worse as you head to the south out towards Chico and Oroville, where you're at that 98 and 86 and even 93 for Red Bluff, but not as bad out in southwest Reading, in particular around near the Anderson area. But you can see that it does get a little bit worse to the south. And that was the case yesterday. It was definitely more smoky in the Chico area than it was in the Reading area. So just wanted to take a look at that. Let's take a look at some of the cameras we have out there this morning, and we are looking at Lake Oroville, North Forebay. The winds, not all that strong this morning, so that's always good to see. And there you can see still that all coming up here. You got that road conditions there on Main Street, Chico, Highway 32, but it still looks like traffic is flowing smoothly. It looks like a little backup at that red light. Traffic should be going there on Highway 99 at Neal Road. We've got sunny skies and a bit smoky and hazy out there this morning as well. Smoky and hazy out in Reading in spots with the Sundial Bridge Drive here at Highway 44. We're also taking a look at Crescent City out at Harbor District. There's some of the fog off in the distance, but we're already starting to see that fog begin to dissipate. The north end of the North Coast, in particular, looking at around the Crescent City area. There's a look to the south, though. The fog still kind of socked in to the south as expected. This is just north of Trinidad in Elk Country. And you can see we still got that fog out there this morning. So, just be aware of that if you're out in that area. All right, let's take a look at some other cameras across the region. We're going to look at Bald Hill West. This is out looking, I believe that's Hoopa off in the distance there. And you can see some of the smoke off on the horizon there. Looking at the Soda Ridge camera. Let's see if this will look at Mount Shasta this morning. Nope, it's not. It's looking over some of the crags there. Just a beautiful sight there. A little bit of smoke off in the distance. And we are looking at Fort Jones this morning out into Scott Valley. Doesn't look like we have a lot of smoke or haze out there this morning, but that may change later this afternoon. Well, what do you say we get to our deeper dive forecast? We need to mention our sponsor. Before we do that, you know what? Let's do this. Let's check in with some of you this morning here while we just kind of take a look at our sponsor there. But there you can see some of you checking in this morning. So let's just kind of have a little chat with some of you here. Good morning, Mike. Yesterday we had 110 degrees. Oh my goodness. So it looks like you did actually reach that 110 degree mark. Only 74 degrees overnight low. Looks like a pool day. Absolutely. I would say that if you have a pool, you might want to take advantage of it and use your pool. Good morning from Tracy Sackett. We've got, interesting, Curtis Brown saying, Watch Duty has a new feature under weather. You can activate weather stations that shows data for that location. You need to zoom in a little to see them. Look for the red dots. Well, let's take a look at that. Hold on. Let's take a look at Watch Duty. Let's see here. Let me see if it's in the layers. Satellite, layers, live wildfire. Oh, weather. There we go. Fire weather, red flag warnings, air quality index. It's got that. Surface wind direction and professional. Oh, well, it's asking for some money, which I may have to do that. But I'll have to play around with that. I'm not, oh, look at there. There's a green dot. Oh, that's air quality, actually. You can't really tip on it, but it's showing, I think that's the air quality. Let's just double check. Layers, weather. Yeah, that's the air quality. But I don't see anything, at least in here. I'll have to check. Let me see if it's in my in the app itself. Sometimes there are features in the app that aren't in, let's see here. I got the fire tracker, power outages, live cameras, air quality index. Oh, weather. Yeah, it's in the app, but it's not. And I should be logged in. Let's see if I'm logged in because I should. Membership. I've got a membership. Maybe I'll have to just log in. I don't. Maybe it's just not logged in as me. I'll have to play around with that. But yeah, I saw it. Good. Thanks for the heads up. I'll have to check that out, and we'll have a little fun with that. All right, enough of that. My goodness, I apologize, folks. Let's get to the deeper dive now. And we're going to talk about our sponsor, Wind River Resort and Casino. At Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. We get right to it. Take a look at our temperatures out there right now, and it is warm out there, my friends. You can see, look at temperatures in the low 70s, a little bit cooler right now at Willows at about 63, but otherwise we're in the 50s and 60s for the higher elevations, low 50s along the coast. This right here, what it basically means is it's going to be hot. You either have an extreme heat warning or a heat advisory. What? Okay, it's not going to be hot in Lassen County? Yes, it will be. At least a heat advisory, folks. It's going to be hot even in Lassen and Plumas counties. Really, the only place that I don't think should have any kind of watch or warning is the immediate coast, because highs there are going to be in the mid-60s on average. So as a friendly reminder, we all know the drill, right? Elderly, check your pets, younger children, make sure that they're okay and staying hydrated. You stay hydrated. Make sure you're taking breaks, getting in the shade, right? We all know the drill. We all know what we need. Our body's telling us to relax, cool off. We know what we need to do. But sometimes you don't know what's going on with your pet, right? You got to protect their paws. And so you can see, for an example, if it's 90 degrees outside, the grass will be 90 degrees as well. So the grass is going to be the best place to take your dog for a walk on any of those hot days. But when you get into the concrete, now it's 9 degrees warmer at 99 degrees. If you get on the soil, like maybe a dirt path, for example, 16 degrees warmer. So that brings it at that 90 up to 106 degrees. Brick, about the same, right? Then asphalt, you're on the road. Look at that, 118 degrees. Parking lot, 118 degrees, right? AstroTurf, that's what's interesting to me, is that AstroTurf is going to be even hotter. Although I don't know a lot of people taking their dogs on walks on AstroTurf, but you get the idea. You've got to really protect those paws. And think of the 5-second rule. If you can't hold the back of your hand on the pavement for 5 seconds or more, then it's too hot for your pets. That's just the bottom line. Take the back of your hand, and if it's way too hot, you don't want to walk them on that surface. And if you can, if they can tolerate it, put those booties on their paws just to get that little extra layer of protection. All right, so let's take a look at that satellite image. Broad ridge of high pressure, void of clouds over the eastern Pacific and the western United States. That's illustrating the ridge of high pressure. Another thing I want to illustrate is the water vapor. This shows you how much moisture or lack thereof is in the atmosphere. All of this, very dry air right here. But you can see some of the monsoon moisture that we're seeing here. Now, this is interesting. I want you to take a look at here. See the monsoon moisture right here? Those are thunderstorms popping up. See the flow? That's an area of high pressure right here. So what could happen and may happen is with that area of high pressure kind of working its way into Southern California, which will, by the way, heat them up significantly and us too. But the flow around that high may bring in and transport some moisture in the northeast side of the state by the second half of the weekend. Now, I want you to take note of that, because when we look at Futurecast, you're going to see what I'm talking about. But let's start off with the heat, because that's the big story here. Big broad ridge of high pressure I was telling you about. But there are two pockets of heat. One over Southern California that I was talking about, and one over the eastern Pacific. Those two just kind of hanging out. They're building, they're working together to give us the heat wave that we're seeing over the weekend through Sunday. Still have that broad ridge of high pressure. As we go into Monday, it's still pretty hot, right? But then by Tuesday, look what's happening. You see this right here? There's going to be a piece of energy that's going to break off right here, and it's going to develop a trough of low pressure right here. Just a weak trough. Now, it's not going to be cold air by any stretch of the imagination. It will moderate as it moves closer to us, but what it will be is more mild air, and that's going to, number one, bring in more mild air. Temperatures drop as a result, but in number two is pushing this heat back over the desert Southwest and this heat back over the eastern Pacific, and we're stuck between the two. Now, it's still going to be hot, but instead of 110, we're talking temperatures in the mid to upper 90s in the valley by the end of the week. And you can see that trend for Redding. You see how temperatures are very hot through Monday, but then we see a nice dip. We're back in the mid 90s here for Thursday, Friday, but then they start to go back up again. Looking at that trend here. So there is relief in sight. All right, so remember I was talking about that monsoon moisture possibly working in here on Sunday. Let's talk about that here. But first, there you can see things clearing out for the coast this afternoon. Afternoon puffy cumulus clouds. You know, when you're in the valley or even in the mountains, you can see the puffy cumulus clouds developing in the mountains. That'll be the case this afternoon. But I don't anticipate any showers or thunderstorms out of any of those. Okay, then we go into Saturday morning. Look at this. Not much fog even for Eureka for Saturday morning. But Saturday afternoon, that may begin to return, especially in the evening hours. Now, you see the clouds developing here. And look at this. Parts of the northern Sierra may see a stray shower or a thunderstorm, but it's not going to be much, if anything. There's Sunday morning. There's the fog along the coast. All right, look at this. It just explodes, doesn't it? So first of all, you can see the fog here. Things are kind of clearing out for Crescent City, but right here. So that monsoon moisture I was talking about, Could that work its way up here and give us enough moisture for thunderstorms and showers to develop, especially in Modoc County, maybe even parts of Siskiyou County as well? As of right now, I'm not putting my bets on that one. I'm going to keep it dry for now. However, and I'll probably even keep it dry through all my other updates throughout the day today. But be sure to check in with Chase Wilson. He'll be here on Saturday and Sunday, and he'll take a look at the latest model data and keep you informed as to whether or not we can anticipate thunderstorms there. So if you live in Modoc County, just heads up. This is a possibility, and it's something that we've got our eyes on here at Weather NorCal. Here's a look at those lake levels, and maybe you're heading out to lakes. And again, this is something I mentioned earlier. By the way, I want to remind you, as the green fire is close to the northeast side of the lake here, many boaters are going out there to try to get some views of the fire. Keep in mind that the lake is a great source for them to tap into to drop water from the helicopters. So if you are close to the fire, you are in the way of the helicopters. So please stay away from that area. I know you want to check it out, but you've got to be mindful of that. Hopefully they do have, I'm assuming they're going to have probably officials out there trying to keep people away, but just be mindful of that. You want to stay away from and be out of the way for the firefighters and the pilots themselves. It's just, you don't want to put yourself or anybody else in danger. But look at the capacity, still at 80%, 89% for Trinity Lake, and out towards Lake Oroville, about 90%. So still looking pretty good. Very healthy lake levels. Outside of where near the fire is, go out there and enjoy the lake. All right, take a look at those wave heights. They are very high. So I do anticipate this is going to be the case here, not only into Saturday, but possibly into Sunday as well. And this is the reason why the National Weather Service has issued for today, tomorrow, and most likely even Sunday, a small craft advisory with north winds today at about 15 to 20 knots, and your waves from the north at 8 feet at about 8 seconds. All right, so for today, here is your detailed Trinity County neighborhood forecast. So notice the highs, and really what and just this is the trend for everyone minus the coast, okay? The trend for everyone is the peak is going to be for the mountains Saturday, Sunday, to Monday, but temperatures start to drop. But overall, we're seeing temperatures drop through most of next week, and it will be the coolest as we get into the end of next week. But in the meantime, we're in the middle of the heat wave now, so these are some of the hottest temperatures we'll see today and through the weekend. 103 in Hayfork, 95 Peanut, and Mad River about 90. Now, for the south end of Humboldt County, we could touch 100 degrees in some spots, even for places like Redway and Garberville. 83 for Redcrest, and Honeydew about 92 degrees. Out in Ferndale, a high of 67, 69 in Fortuna, right around 70 for both Hydesville and Rio Dell, turning out to be a mild day there. The coast, mid to upper 60s, 72 degrees though in Trinidad, 78 degrees in Blue Lake, and 100 in Hoopa. Look for a high of 101 out towards Orleans, and about 92 degrees for Gas Key, and there are those temperatures mainly in the 60s. Klamath about 71 though. Oryx 71, Crescent City, your temperatures are generally in the mid-60s, give or take, under partly to mostly cloudy skies. For Siskiyou County today, you can see temperatures close to, if not right around 100 for the Highway 96 corridor. Mid-90s though for I-5 there. There you can see temperatures are going to be warmest for Wairika Saturday, Sunday, Monday, even Tuesday. Temperatures do start to drop though towards the end of next week. 94 at Greenview, as well as Callahan and Etna. 95 in Fort Jones, creeping back up and then back down again towards the middle and latter part of next week. Central and eastern Siskiyou County, low to mid 90s, although one of the warmer spots will be Dunsmuir at about 98 degrees, Mount Shasta City about 95. And your Modoc County neighborhood forecast, those temperatures, I mean, you could touch 100 degrees, not out of the question here for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, but temperatures dropping toward the end of the week. Look for a high of 96 degrees today for Alturas, 93 for Fort Bidwell. Out towards the eastern mountains, you can see 96 degrees in Bernie, 99 degrees in Montgomery Creek, Paynes Creek, 101 and Beaver about 92 degrees. Let's take you down to the south where we take a look at Lake Almanor and Lassen Park. For the park, you're talking temperatures in the low to mid 80s for your daytime highs, in the upper 80s to the even low to mid 90s around the perimeter of the lake here for today. Taking a look at to the south, Paradise, you'll see a high of 97 today, 98 out in Susanville, Quincy topping out at about 101 degrees. Let's take you into the valley. You can see to the south here, we're looking at about 104 degrees for Orland, 102 in Durham, 101 degrees in Gridley, and looking at your 7-day forecast for Chico. Temperatures are going to pretty much stay above 100 degrees through Monday, starting to slowly drop though as we go through next week. 109 degrees for the city of Shasta Lake, about 110 for Redding and Anderson. Cottonwood about 108 degrees, 104 in Whiskeytown. Red Bluff, you'll top out at 108. Look for a high of about 103 in Lakehead, and Palisadro topping out at 108. There's a look at your 7-day forecast for Redding. Ooh, summer. Summer in Northern California. Here we go, right? 110 degrees today, 110 degrees possibly even tomorrow. 108 Sunday, Monday, 102 Tuesday. You see how temperatures is slowly dropping. So there is relief in sight from this heat wave. So that's always nice. That's always a big plus, isn't it? When we can get those temperatures below 100 degrees, because we are at the point in the year where the normal high, at least in Redding, 100 degrees. That's the normal high, okay? So when we can get down to the upper 90s, mid 90s, that's below normal. That's always good. That's always good this time of the year, at least for me. I know I like it when it's not super duper hot here. Looks like we got a couple of other people here that's checking in here. Oh, Curtis saying click on the red dot. Yeah. Click on, I checked. I'm going to check it out here on the app here. I'm going to probably log into my on the website. You got to also log in on the website because I did pay for the membership, so you get all the extra perks and stuff. Kenny Elwood, oh, how you doing this morning, Kenny? It's been a while since we've talked. Of course, I'm super excited here this weekend. Not this weekend, but well, this weekend we're leaving tonight, tomorrow morning. We are going to be heading out on a trip. I'm going to be in that location for 2 weeks. So stay tuned, because I will be able to still work from that location remotely, and I will still be doing your Monday through Friday updates. I'll also be doing Coffee with Krueger live from that location as well. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. Very excited. It's just kind of a nice little getaway for my family and I. And even though I do have to work, we'll still be able to spend some time in the afternoons, kind of just spending some time together and spending some time in that location. It's always just nice to just get away from it all, right? But I'll still be in touch with what's going on with the weather, the fires, and the works. So just want to let you know that. I also want to let you know that if a big fire does break out, I can still, from that remote location, be just as effective giving you that fire information than anywhere else. That's the beauty of what I'm doing here, is it's all internet based, and you can, we're in that day and age where you can remote into any computer from anywhere in the world, and it's really nice. It's one of the perks of what I'm doing now, and that's what I love about it. But I can still be just as effective giving you the forecast from anywhere, because you talk about the forecaster doesn't live here. Well, yeah, that is always an argument, right? However, I've lived here for over 25 years. And even though I'm not there physically, that doesn't mean I don't know the patterns and don't know what's going on. All right? I will just be able to be experiencing cooler temperatures during this heat wave than you. I don't want to brag about it, but yeah, it's going to be nice and cooler where I'm going, by the way. So, but again, stay tuned for that, and we'll be kind of talking about that. And there you go. So yeah, Kenny Elwood checking in this morning saying hello. We've also got Tracy Sackett checking in this morning too, saying, thanks, Mike Krueger. Hope everyone has a great weekend. And I hope you do too. I hope everyone has a great weekend. We're going to leave you with a couple of cameras, a little bit of funky music in the background, and we will call it a Friday, my friends. In the meantime, have yourselves a great Friday and an even better weekend. And we will see you. Of course, you can watch my updates. My afternoon update and my evening update. Chase Wilson will be here over the weekend, and I will have the weekend to travel to my destination. Where it will be, nobody knows, but I will see you right here on Coffee with Krueger at 6:30 in the morning on Monday, and have your regular updates from that remote location as well. Have a great day, everyone, and a great weekend.